So today what I'll be going over is the power of threat intelligence really with financial organizations that I work with. So in terms of content, what I plan to go over with you today is a quick overview of who I am, what Recorded Future does, our idea of a centaur model of threat intelligence, how that applies to consuming it internally, especially for financial organizations, our INSIC team, our research organization, as well as a quick case study of how exactly we're able to utilize information on the criminal underground and use that to help protect specifically financial organizations. Now, I will caveat during the case study portion of this I am not going to show anything that is specifically relevant to the incident at hand. I'm going to show more general threat intelligence screenshots, but I'll be talking in more overarching views of how exactly we were able to do what we did. So jumping into about myself quickly, I'm a solutions engineer here at Recorded Future. I've been at the company for about 3 years now, and I'm a former Deloitte consultant. I did threat intel program builds primarily for the federal government while I was there, as well as some oil and gas companies down in Texas. I'm also a big brewer of beer, mead, and apple wine. So if anybody wants to share recipes or anything like that, feel free to get in contact. All right, so jumping into Recorded Future itself, one of the things I really want to hit on before we jump into the case study is how exactly our technology works, because I think it'll give you a better understanding of how exactly we do what we do. So at the end of the day, Recorded Future really is a data provider, and what we do is collect data from a vast array of sources. We're collecting data from the underground markets to endpoints to domain DNS providers. We're collecting information from a variety of different languages. And through this, we're creating relationships with a metric ton of different what we call entities. So that can be an IP, it can be a domain, it can be a threat actor, it can be a malware. And as of this point, we've hit over 2 billion intelligence cards within our platform today. Now, we've expanded this as well through specific acquisitions. So we recently acquired Gemini Advisory, which is a fraud intelligence company that really focuses in on how to reduce fraud at financial organizations, delivering specific ROI towards removing those fraudulent cards from the market. And again, we're getting a lot of this data from the underground sources that we're able to collect information from programmatically. Overall, though, I think this really is, if I was to zoom out to show you guys exactly how Recorded Future works, I think this would be probably the best slide to show. Over here on the left-hand side of the screen, we go over all of the kind of major sources that we're collecting it from. Like I said earlier, the technical collection sources that we have are from endpoint providers, domain DNS providers, network traffic analysis, also collecting from open web sources like security vendor reporting, blogs, mainstream news, and we're also able to get into that deeper underground side of things to really understand the criminal economy. And to do that, we also utilize our INSIC group, which is our internal research arm. INSIC just means insight in Swedish. Our founders are Swedish, hence the name. So that particular team is actually able to get us into these mediums of communication, whether that be particular forums or otherwise, to be able to intercept communications between threat actors today. Now, what we do with all of that information is it gets pulled into what we call our security intelligence graph. And what that ends up doing is it structures, processes, and analyzes the information that's there. So we use our natural language processing really to identify the things that are in that strand of text, whether that, again, is a IP, a domain, a hash, a URL, what have you. We also take that next step of really trying to understand the context in which those things live in. So if, for example, that IP is part of endpoint telemetry pointing out to a command and control server, we could trigger what we call a risk rule around that to deliver a quantitative based risk score around any of those different indicator types, and then push that out to our clients in a variety of different ways. So first, there is the browser in our mobile app, probably the most popular way that our clients use our tool. There's our browser extension. We can do enrichments around any different web app or as an overlay. We have our finished intelligence platform that's looking specifically at those longer form reports that some organizations might require. And then lastly, what I think is most important is our API integrations functionality, where we can really start taking a look at building programmatic processes around external threat intelligence within internal organizations in the finance industry. Now, because all of this text is coming into recorded future, what we can also do is start slicing and dicing it depending on what we're looking for particular organizations. So to give you a quick example of how we're able to break this down, is that if, for example, I was on the other side of the house for myself, back when I was at my job at Deloitte, where I was helping build these threat intelligence programs, if there was a question that came down from a management or senior official, one of the things that we would have to do is go out and actually try to find different disparate sources of information and correlate them together into a threat brief or into at least a quick answer for what was required of us. And that would require going out to a multitude of different sources, whether that be Bleeping Computer or ZDNet or even through foreign language sources. Now, with recorded future, what we're able to do is actually pull all of that stuff out. We're able to say, hey, this is a malware family, this is an IP, this is a threat actor, etc. Right? This is all really, really great information that we can then use to start pinpointing different things together and start building those relationships. Now, this is all really good information, right? But how exactly do you consume it? That really ends up being the next sort of level that we need to try to understand for our clients. And our CTO actually talked about this a little bit in one of our earlier blog posts, which is about the Centaur model, where we're really able to deliver that horse body, that machine that's able to drive all of that technical analysis and collection from all of these different sources in the intelligence lifecycle. However, there still needs to be, and there's still a place for that strategic vision that needs to be applied on top of all of the data that's being collected in order to make it specifically actionable to a particular group. Now, we do that in a couple of major forms. An organization can do that internally with their own team. However, we try to do it as well through our INSEC group, that same research arm that we have, by creating what we call notes that overlay over the data that we have within recorded future. So that could be a actor profile, that could be a source profile, so that we can give our clients a better understanding of what exactly they're looking at and why it would matter to them. Primarily, this group of individuals, it's around 50 now, and they're able to really segment their knowledge into a variety of different verticals. So we have a group focused in on nation state. We have a group focused in on cyber criminals. We have a group focused in on technical analysis. But today, and for the use case that I want to talk to you all about, is specifically focused in on the cyber criminal and the criminal underground. So as part of our collection, one of the things that we do is we go out and collect from all of these particular underground sources. So not only can we deliver information like this directly to our clients in equivalently real time, but we can also roll up a weekly roll up for our clients as well. And this is an example of one of those emails that we'll send out to our clients weekly. And we break it down into a couple of different sections here. So first, we have initial access, where we have threat actors auctioning off or selling access to organizations across the world. We also have data exposure incidents, which are primarily focused in around data dumps and databases being sold or auctioned off. And then there's also ransomware extortion. So as more and more ransomware extortion websites come online, as those actors continue to name and shame the groups that they've targeted, we can still pull that data into recorded future and alert our clients for that, again, in real time. Now, one of the things to note here as well is when you jump into any of these particular initial access sales or data exposure incidents, the threat actors in question generally don't name the company that they're trying to sell access to or sell the data of. Generally, they used three major data points to identify the quality of what they're selling. So first is how much money they're making. So in this particular case, $500 million in annual revenue. They usually also include the number of employees that a company has, and they also include the country of origin as well. So what happened actually a couple months ago is that a financial client of ours came to us after getting tipped off through our automated processes that a threat actor had posted a description of a company that looked eerily similar to theirs. It was one of those cases where they were like, we're not sure if this is us, but we need to do our due diligence to be able to make sure that it isn't. So what we were able to do, because that team has specific personas, the criminal and underground team of ours is consistently developing these personas to go out and interact with these threat actors and develop their trust, gain notoriety, and become known in the communities that they interact in. So we were able to go out and actually reach out to that particular threat actor on the website that they were facilitating their communication on. And we were able to negotiate with them to give us a sample of what they were selling. Now, what they were selling was a specific root level access to a part of that organization that should never be exposed. We were able to take that sampling back to our client and say, hey, this is what we have. Does this match your internal environment? Unfortunately, the answer was yes. It matched what they had, but they needed more information. They needed to have, they needed a little bit more about where the breach happened so that they could go out and fix the problem. And because we were also still in communication with this actor, one of the things that we could do here then is actually go out and buy the access. So that particular organization figured that the best route forward would be to actually use us as a medium to go out and pay for that access in total. We were able to do that, deliver that access, and then they were able to find out exactly what to fix, when to fix, and how to fix it. And with that, we saved them from a particular incident because that same time that we were communicating with that threat actor, that item for access was also getting bid on by a known ransomware threat actor. So as that kind of communication is happening, there is, or we might have rather, saved them from a ransomware incident at that particular point in time because that actor had shown interest in buying that access. Now, this actually led to a couple of different things. It led to us not only being able to get information associated with that particular company and presenting it back to them, but it also gave us more notoriety with that particular actor. And that actor then came back to us and said, okay, well, now you guys are a trusted buyer. Here's a bunch of other companies that I also have access to. And we were able to take that list of companies and actually go out and notify our clients in the same way so that when they were looking at any of these particular events for initial access or what have you, we could then take those next steps and actually communicate with that same actor and say, hey, here's a known bad actor that is selling a very legitimate access to organizations. We believe that you should go and actually commission us to interact with that threat actor and buy that access for you so you guys can remediate the problem before it actually becomes an even larger one. So I know I'm a little bit early here. I wanted to save a little bit of time for questions if there were any. So with that, I'll see if there are.